Confucius was born in 550 BCE in the small state of Lu, China. His mother, who was already a widow, gave birth to him at age 34. Talk about a single mom superpower. Confucius later said, "The superior man is modest in his speech but exceeds in his actions." And well, his actions sure exceeded the expectations of everyone around him. As a boy, Confucius didn't exactly have a silver spoon. He was poor and a bit of an underachiever. But hey, not all heroes wear capes at first. Confucius said, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." And boy, did he rise. He eventually became the most influential philosopher in history. By 15, Confucius decided he was going to be a full-time scholar, devouring everything from poetry to music. He might have been a bookworm, but he was the ancient world's original wisdom influencer. As Confucius wisely said, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. And he knew he had a lot to learn. Confucius worked as a lowly clerk in his early career, cataloging the state's treasures. And no, it wasn't as glamorous as you'd think. He probably thought, "I'm more than just a clerk." And his wisdom was like, "This job isn't enough." He believed, when we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inwards and examine ourselves. Confucius wasn't just content being a clerk. He opened his own school, and suddenly, everyone wanted to be a student. But Confucius had a motto: "The superior man understands what is right. The inferior man understands what will sell." So he kept his lessons pure and wise. His students were probably lucky to get a seat in his class. Confucius became famous for his philosophy on relationships, society, and morality. Basically, he was the original life coach. His most famous quote, "The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones." Guess he was all about baby steps to greatness. Confucius was married and he had a son. But guess what? Family life wasn't as peaceful as his teachings. As Confucius once said, "Family is the first school for every child." Even though his own family wasn't perfect, he still preached harmony, proving that even the wisest have their family moments. Confucius tried his hand at politics, hoping to advise rulers. Spoiler alert, it didn't go as planned. He was a bit too honest for the political world, and his motto, "The strength of a nation derives from the integrity of the home," wasn't exactly what the rulers were looking for. Confucius was all about those 5 relationships: ruler-subject, father-son, husband-wife, older brother-younger brother, and friend-friend. His famous line, "Do not do to others what you do not want done to yourself." Sound familiar? Yep, he's basically the ancient version of the Golden Rule. Confucius traveled from state to state offering advice to rulers, hoping for some action. But his advice wasn't always appreciated. But as Confucius said, "Ignorance is the night of the mind, but a night without moon and star." He was the shining moon. Everyone else was still in the dark. Despite all his wisdom, Confucius realized that politics wasn't the way to go. He said the superior man acts before he speaks, and afterwards speaks according to his actions. So he stuck to his teaching and stopped trying to fix politics. He learned that sometimes you can't change the system, just change yourself. After the political drama, Confucius went back to what he did best, teaching. As he said, "When we learn, we grow. When we grow, we rise," and rise he did, back into a classroom filled with eager students who didn't care about politics, just wisdom. Confucius' wisdom wasn't immediately appreciated in his time. Much of his teachings were lost. But hey, as Confucius said, the superior man is aware of his own faults, but does not dwell on them. So, his teachings eventually made a major comeback. After Confucius' death, his teachings were all the rage. Think of him like a philosopher who was ahead of his time. Confucius became so influential, they might as well have made a Netflix series about him. As he said, "The gentleman understands what is moral. The small man understands what is profitable." Confucius wasn't scared of death. He said, "To see what is right and not do it is the want of courage." He lived his life with such calmness Toward the end, Confucius retreated from public life, but not from wisdom. He believed in the company of the wise, be wise. In the company of the foolish, be silent. Maybe he just wanted a break from the drama and a good cup of tea. Confucius passed away in 479 BCE, but his wisdom didn't die with him. He said, "A man who has committed a mistake and doesn't correct it is committing another mistake." So even in death, Confucius is still teaching us to improve. After his death, Confucius' ideas became a massive force in philosophy. His teachings spread far and wide. He truly lived by his words. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. And fall he did, into greatness. Confucius' teachings were recorded in a book called the Analects. Imagine it as his greatest hits album. Lots of quotes, no filler. His favorite, "It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. Slow and steady wins the wisdom race." Confucius reshaped not just philosophy, but the way societies operate. The strength of a nation derives from the integrity of the home. If you want to build a better society, start with good values, and Confucius was the architect of that. Confucius is often considered the father of education in China. His famous quote, "Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace." Today, Confucius' teachings are still relevant. He's the ancient philosopher who would totally have a podcast and drop wisdom every week. Confucius said, "He who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in great danger." He was pretty ahead of his time. Confucius' ideas became the foundation for Chinese civil service exams. If you wanted to rule, you had to understand his philosophy. Imagine that exam. Do you have integrity? Are you wise? Can you read the Analects in one sitting? Even though Confucius had family struggles, his teachings on family values are legendary. He once said, "The strength of a nation derives from the integrity of the home." Family drama aside, Confucius understood the importance of family as a foundation for life. Even though Confucius had passed, his wisdom is still alive and well. As he once said, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step." And let's be honest, every step he took was one giant leap for mankind.